Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Take it away, sir.
How's that?
That was awful. You were supposed to learn how to play that by now, Dave. I'm disappointed in you.
It's harder than you think.
I'm sure it
Okay.
is.
Yeah. No. Okay. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom will be dropping September 26th, one day after my birthday. Shout out there.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
didn't know your birthday till right now.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm super excited for this game.
Okay, should I pull up
Did
the
you
trailer?
go ahead and pull up the trailer? Did you think I would not be excited? Adam was curious to know my thoughts about this.
I was very curious to know Dave's thoughts about this one, only because it's a bit different than like normal Zelda games and things like that. And I was very, for somebody that doesn't play Zelda, I was almost like put off from this one, if that makes sense.
I feel like a lot of people are going to be like this
Yeah.
because, like Adam said, it's very different from what people now are used to.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is more of a return to the classic Zelda than most people think.
Right.
This is going to be the first top-down Zelda since like 2015, like
Mhm.
Hyrule Warriors era.
Right.
And that was very much Zelda for me. So like I can understand why people are turned off from this. Especially coming from Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. And if you guys are just listening, if you're, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, the art style itself is also very much like Link's Awakening. Like this is clearly not anything to do with Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, but for me that's fine. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually excited to get a version of Zelda like this since the last two were not like this at all.
Right.
Yeah.
This is almost like it's more cartoony. Is that how they used to be in the past too?
Yeah, so this is Link's Awakening. This is like the same art style as Link's Awakening. So if
Okay.
you guys are just listening, it is very much cartoony. It's not like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. It doesn't have that like same realism. And I say that term lightly, as much realism as you can kind of get out of a Nintendo game because they all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
But this one very much is more cartoony, and that the Zelda's always kind of done this, right? Like they've
Yeah.
always had this style where it's like, Ocarina came out and it was kind of cartoony, but then Twilight Princess came out and it was more dark, more realistic. They always kind of flip flop around and
Yeah.
change the art style up a little bit. And this is just jumping over to a different art style, which I'm totally fine with.
And then I guess with that, the way it is playing, it seems like it's gonna be less focused about the combat system, but more focused on like the echoes and the puzzle base. Is that kind of the same with the old games like this?
Yeah. Okay. So let's. Yeah, I'm glad you kind of brought that up, but
Yeah.
let's. Well, I'll dive in here. So
Okay.
basically, if you guys are just listening, when we're looking at this trailer, there's a lot of things that are going down. So the trailer opens up with Link fighting Ganon, and Link is fighting Ganon, and he delivers the final blow, which should be the end blow. And when that happens, Ganon's axe hits the ground, and when his axe hits the ground, it opens up what they're calling a rift, and it's basically like this purple kind of void that starts taking over the land, and Link gets sucked into the purple, like that purple opening, and at the very last second, he uses his bow and arrow to hit the container that's holding Princess Zelda. The container cracks and then Princess Zelda is free. So this game is going to be the first game that you actually play as Princess Zelda
Mhm.
in the entirety. And then also kind of what we're looking at right now is this very different kind of like way to play the game.
Yeah.
So we're looking at combat right now, and again, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, so I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You're gonna get a new weapon in this game, and the new weapon in this game is called the Tri-Rod, and the Tri-Rod is what we're looking at right now. It's like this yellow thing that she's kind of holding, and it very much changes how you play this game, because what you're going to be able to do with that rod is you are going to be able to create echoes of things that you encounter in the world. And we've seen this being used as not only platforming and puzzle solving, but also in the combat system. So a good example that we saw in the trailer was like this platforming traversal where Princess Zelda is recreating these tables that she's learned how to make, right? And using those to kind of platform herself up. And then also in the combat system where she used this echo to create a like a rock and then picked up the rock and threw it at the enemy. And we've even seen echoes of actual enemies that you've defeated before and you kind of have them fight together. So I mean, for me, I'm really excited for this, but I think some players are not going to be super excited about this because, especially, like I said, coming from Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, which were very much action focused, very much combat focused, and kind of shied away from the traditional puzzle platforming of Zelda games. This one is going to lean very, very heavy on the puzzle side of things. So, I don't know. I think this goes one of two ways. I mean, you're either going to love this game or you're going to hate this game, I think.
And I think this is almost like because Breath of the Wild just came out last year. And I think this is almost like a placeholder for the next one coming out. I don't think this is so much to be like the next Breath of the Wild or anything like that. And for me, I could see why some people may not be as excited about it. But at the same time, like you just got Breath of the Wild. Because how long was it between the two Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild? Like how many years? Yeah, exactly. So that's why I don't think that fans shouldn't be upset with this game coming out because of how new the other two are, or the newest one is, if that makes sense.
And Zelda games do this all like Zelda as a franchise does this all the time. Like they do this all the time where they put out very different games, very different styles of games, very different stories. Like I don't want people to think that's what I don't want people to think is like they think that this is a continuation of Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom because it is not. This idea was clearly with the drop of this being only a year after Tears of the Kingdom, this game was in works. Well, Tears of the Kingdom was also in works. You know what I mean? Like they plan to have this game. So if you're thinking that like this is the third installment of the new Zelda franchise. Like it's not. It's a very different game, a very different experience. But like I said, Zelda they do this all the time. This is something that they do all the time, and I get super excited when I get any type of Zelda game because I love all aspects of Zelda. I love the puzzle platforming. I love solving the puzzles. I love the combat system. I love the lore behind it. So for me, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of like Mario. Remember we talked about Mario? Like, it doesn't really matter what they do. Like, I'm just excited for a new Zelda.
Since this is like her first time you get to play as Zelda, do you think they're going to start incorporating that more often, or do you think this is going to be like a one-off?
I think this is very much going to be a one-off, and I think one of the cool things about this is like the ability to do the one-offs. But I think people are reading into a little bit of the lore too much here. So just kind of talk about like I see the number one question that I've seen in all of the trailers and all the videos for this is what timeline does this game fit in? And I'm gonna be honest and just say that, like I am the biggest Zelda fan. I'm probably one of the biggest Zelda fans out there. I can confidently say that there is no Zelda timeline. Like people have these weird like graphs and stuff where it's like they put this game here and this game here, but then like after Ocarina it splits into two different times and like this is pre like the Zelda timeline like it's just broken. It literally just is broken. So I kind of treat everything outside of like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild as just a one off at this point. And I do think that this is very much going to fall in line with just being like a one-off story.
So it doesn't really matter to the new ones, and it won't really matter in the future.
No, and I think you can kind of tell that because of just if you really look at the trailer and kind of dissect the trailer, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have used a very different version of Hyrule. This version of Hyrule, and especially that scene at the end of the trailer where she's walking out and kind of looking over the landscape, and you can see Hyrule Castle in the center, and then you can kind of look off to the right and you see like the mountain caverns and all that stuff like that. That's the exact same layout as Link to the Past. So I mean, it's like you're kind of talking about two different worlds, and then also if you look at the trailer, like you look at the incantation of Ganon, where he's kind of more of like animalistic instead of like human. that's also like Link to the Past kind of style and vibe and stuff like that. And I just think we're talking about two. It's almost like Zelda has like two different versions of itself. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of be able to separate those out.
Interesting. And you think that a lot of people are trying to, like you said, they're trying to piece it together when they don't need to.
I don't think people are trying to piece it together, but I think so like I think older fans of the series, people that loved Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, stuff like that, kind of know what's going on. And I think people that got into the series from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are like, well, what the H is this? You know what I mean? Because they're just not used to it, but it's definitely something that Zelda's been doing for a long time.
Okay, and then when was the last release like this then? How many years ago would that have been?
2015.
Okay, so
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a pretty long time since we'd had a top-down. I mean, they did a remake of Link's Awakening that had the same vibe to it. I forget when that was. I think it's fairly recent, but yeah, it's just two totally different games, man. Like it's yeah, I don't know, but I'm excited for it, and I think the old school fans are really excited about it because some of the things that we're seeing in that trailer, we talked about the riffs and stuff like that. The riffs, I think, is kind of like a throwback to Link. Oh my God, Link to the Past. Because in Link to the Past, there was this thing called the Dark World, right, where it was basically the same version of Hyrule, but it was like Ganon's kind of version of it, where everything was like dark and kind of like murky and just had this like different kind of vibe to it. And I think the riffs in this game is gonna be kinda like that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if these rifts are really kinda like portals leading into Ganon's Dark World that's kind of, like, taking over the actual existence of Hyrule.
since this isn't gonna feel as action based, that fans are gonna be a bit more disappointed, or
I do think some fans are gonna be disappointed, but like I said, I think some of the older fans, are going to be really kind of pleasantly surprised because that was one of my biggest things is like when I got Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, I was juiced. You know what I mean? Like I was juiced. They're new Zelda games and stuff like that, but it wasn't so much the Zelda that like I remembered. You know what I mean? Like they very much made all of the puzzle solving and like kind of secrety kind of stuff about it very secondary to just being like a kind of like action RPG kind of style. And like that's fine. Like I get it. It appeals to more people because exactly like Adam, he doesn't like playing puzzles and games, and there's a lot of people like that. And I don't know, just for me, again, I just feel like this episode is just making me sound old.
no, no, no. But I think it's because you have played almost every single Zelda game, and you know what to expect with the one off games. And I don't think, like you said, there's a lot of new fans because of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom that they don't understand this kind of cycle of the the life of Zelda, and so you're just excited about it because like it's the next thing that you know what I mean, like it's what you expect to come next. And I don't think a lot of people are expecting to see what's coming next.
I will say I do feel for the fans that are very much combat oriented here because looking at the combat system, I do kind of wish that there was like a little bit more combat in there, and that's coming from me as somebody who really enjoys the puzzle aspect of Zelda. But I kind of just wish there was a little bit more. Like if you could use the tri rod to like actually hit people, I think that would be great because that's the kind of Zelda that I was, kind of born up with. You get the Master Sword, and you're still solving puzzles, and you're still, using spells and stuff like that. But you have your traditional, you know, melee hit, and I don't know. I do kind of wish that it had a little bit more of that, but I'm okay with the puzzles for right now.
I almost think it works more the way it's going to be because like she's a princess and she's like, I mean, Princess Zelda. You don't really see her going out there fighting a bunch of things, and it's always Link helping save her and things like that. So she doesn't have that combat experience, and it'd be kind of weird if she just starts smacking people with this staff, and you know what I mean. I feel like it kind of works and it makes sense the way it's going.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could. I just at the end of the day, it's a video game, so it would be nice if you could just go out there and smack stuff. But I get it. I understand. But like like I said, this is kind of like a throwback to old school Zelda games, so I'm super excited for it. like I said, the puzzles being introduced in this different style of gameplay, I'm actually excited for, because Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, in my personal opinion, went too far away from the original series. Having all those puzzles and stuff like that in the shrines, and like, okay, that's great, but in the Zelda that I'm kind of used to, that stuff wasn't optional. Like, you had to figure that stuff out, and it kind of made you feel like, I don't know, like, like, kind of like proud, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, when when you finally figure out the puzzle and you figure out how everything works, it's like Zelda was always this 50-50. I need to think about it, I need to solve, I also need to fight. And they went, in my opinion, they went a little bit too far away from that. This is kind of a return to the Zelda series that I love. So super, super excited for it.
I don't have an opinion because I've never played a single Zelda game, so I don't have much to say on my end because I've never played a Zelda. I don't think I've never played a single Zelda game.
I would recommend that this is not going to be your first one. Just knowing exactly your style of
Yeah.
gameplay, just go ahead and grab yourself Breath of the Wild, and see what you think.
We'll see.
Super excited for this one. It's a very new, very interesting, a very cool take on the series. Of course, like I said, I'm the biggest Zelda fan ever, so any new Zelda is a great Zelda. Yeah, drops September 26th, a day after my birthday. And one thing to note is that Nintendo is doing a Switch Lite Hyrule edition, that comes with this, that will be available at launch. At this time, US pre-orders are not live yet. But for some reason, the European Amazon has pre-orders up, and they're selling it for 210 euros, which works out to be about 225 US dollars, if you're interested in that.
Cool.
I kind of wish it wasn't a Switch Lite.
You wish it was like a real Switch?
I wish it was the
Or the
real Switch.
The OLED?
Yeah, the OLED Switch.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people have the Switches now, and I don't know.
I don't know, because I
I don't
kind of
know.
want it, but I don't want to buy a Switch Lite right now.
Right.
Because like I have this one, so I have this 3D, the Majora's Mask
Yeah.
collector's
Okay.
3DS, and I
Yeah.
love it, dude. Like I would love to have this version of it in the Switch, but I don't know. It's so weird. Like, I don't know how to say it, but I feel like the Switch should have died so long ago. Like, where's the Switch 2? You know what I mean? Like, what is happening? I'd like it's so weird that they're putting out a new one, and I'm just like so worried about, like, there's 0 point in me buying a Switch right now.
I could see that. I think COVID helped the Switch lifespan so much more than it probably would have if COVID wasn't here because everybody wanted a Switch when it was COVID.
They really did.
Even people that like never played video games were like, "Oh, I want a Switch." And now like I think that helped the lifespan of the Switch.
If you guys are super big Zelda fans, you might want to take a look at it because it doesn't look really, really cool. But tread lightly. I don't know if spending $225 on a Switch right now is worth it.